This is a film I shot in July 2012 on a two-night break to France, and this is me leaving Dover in England on a very clear and calm day. I was very lucky with the weather. Actually, I wasn't lucky. I planned it because I booked it 2 days in advance. I knew the weather was going to be good, and it turned out to be excellent. So this film, it looks very good. It's not the most exciting holiday I've ever done, but it's visually it looks excellent. Although I've been to Calais and Boulogne and Dunkirk many times, I've never really explored this area, so I was planning to go along just south of Calais and cycle towards Boulogne along the coast. And this is on land here, and you can see coming up, there's a shot, you can see England across the channel, because it was that clear that day. So I didn't do the main road, because the main road is, although I did drive a bit of it, it is quite narrow and quite twisty in places, and I don't think it's the best for cycling. So I was going above the hills, above the main road and the back roads. So it's really nice. It's kind of a few B roads and then lots of back roads. It's quite a hilly ride, and it was hot that day, but the roads are quiet here, so you can see there's not too much traffic. Using these back roads here to get to Boulogne, and I only got as far as Wimereux, which is a bit further north of Boulogne, because I had problems with the bike and the chain broke. It took me an hour to find a shop and get it fixed, and so I cut the ride short and headed back to the car. So this is Wimereux here. That's the line to Boulogne. There's a hill in the background which also put me off because it was quite steep. So I just had lunch here and got the bike fixed and then headed back a different route. So that's all the film I got on this first day. And I headed down about to Hesdin, which is probably about 20 miles south, and then probably 30 miles to the east. So on the second day, this is Hesdin, and this is the next morning. So I was planning a kind of like a circular ride around, following the River Canche, and then I was going to hit the back roads again and head off on my own way. So this is the town centre. So it's very picturesque. And it was a beautifully quiet morning just before it gets hot. So it was very nice. And the river flows right through the town centre here. So I was following the river. I think it heads west towards the channel. And the road's it's flat. So this is the area of Seven Valleys. So you can see the hills in the background. Here's some cows here I saw. And you can see the hills in the background, so it was quite a hilly ride. And then eventually I turned off and I headed off the main road, off the B road here. And you started getting this kind of like really remote agricultural country. So there's lots of, I've never seen so many combine harvesters and tractors in my life, lots of them. But not very many cars. So it's very peaceful. And you can easily get off the beaten track. So there are signposted routes as well, and I was kind of like making my own up and making it a bit longer because they were a bit short for my taste. And this was going up the hill here, and I was having some lunch, and so it was quite a long, steep climb, not too long. But it gives you an idea of of the valleys around this area. And once you're out of the valleys, you're kind of like into exposed, open farmland, and it was really burning hot. It was really hot. It must have been in the low 30s. And you can see here, yeah, you're just really exposed. And you can see coming up, and it's just coming up in a moment. There's a shot of what the name of this ride was called. This part of the ride was called Le Soleil de Seitan, and it was hot. The sun was beating out in the open. And this is the next day. This is riding a bit further south of Hesdin, the Valley La Frie, I think it's pronounced. And this is another up and down ride. And I was heading towards the river down south. So again, it's a lot of back roads and quiet roads. But another beautiful, beautiful morning to be riding out. So again, it's exposed, kind of like fields, and then quite sharp valley drops. So it's a bit misleading, but the roads are quiet and there's very little traffic. You can see the roads here, you know, they're well off the beaten path. So this was my second whole day for cycling. So I must have spent about 4 or 5 hours doing this ride, because I was having to check the map, of course, because I've never been here before. So I was having to stop and check it, but it was pretty easy to follow the route. And this is down by eventually you hit the river, and then you follow the river back for a good few kilometres, and it's another flat section of the ride. So it's very tranquil, very peaceful. And I don't know what this is, I just kind of came across it. I think it's some kind of like chateau, farmhouse. And then I came across this water mill here. And the last bit of the river is very tranquil. And then there was kind of like a climb back up out of the valley, which was quite, not steep, but it was quite long. And again, it was really hot. And by the time this is kind of like lunchtime, by the time I started to get out this way, you can see how, you know, it was all sunburnt, the fields. You can see the butterfly there. It was all kind of like, you can really feel the heat in the air. This lonely tree in the middle of the field. On the third day, it was time to head back I had the whole day because I had a ferry crossing in the evening. So this is Agincourt, which was about 10 miles north of Hasdin. So I decided I better go and have a look at it. And so there's a visitor centre here. So I went in to have a visitor centre. So Agincourt, of course, the English army had the famous victory over the French army, and the English archers were at their peak, and we duffed up the French pretty good and proper. So they've got a pretty neat small museum here. It was virtually all British cars outside, so I don't think the French are very keen to celebrate it. Although eventually the French, of course, they kicked the English out of France at the end of the 100 Years' War. So they had this fabulous model here. I couldn't help but film it of the battle. So it was pretty neat. So I was trying to do my own version of the battle. Laurence Olivier's film, and the battle scene's really good. And the Kenneth Branagh one as well, actually, that was pretty good. So I was keen to see the real battlefield as well. The village is very picturesque, very quiet, besides the tourists, but there weren't that many. And you can see here, you can cycle around the battlefield. Unfortunately, the battlefield is basically, it's private land now, it's farmland mainly. So this is looking at it from the south side, and you can cycle around it like a rectangle, and it's all farm. This is it. It's just it's farmland, so it hasn't got the atmosphere really. But at the far end, there's a small monument down here, and that's about it. So I was a little bit disappointed because, you know, I've been on other battlefields like Bosworth Field, and you see the full battlefield, and you can walk on it, and you can feel the atmosphere. Omaha Beach is the same. You can walk on that, of course. I've been there. So this is coming back. This is Cap Grise, I think. I can't remember. But I came back to the coast to have a look at the viewpoint, and you could see across to England, I think, here. So it was pretty popular. And we saw this helicopter. So I think they're an ambulance, but you can see they're getting very close. Calais, haven't been to Calais for ages, so they've modernised it since I was last there. But normally I go to Dunkirk because it's cheaper. and it was a nice clear crossing on the way back. So I really enjoyed the trip. Normally I don't go to the Pas De Calais. You just get off the ferries and you hit the motorway and you head wherever I'm going. It's usually south or up to the Netherlands or across towards Austria and southern Germany. And so it's the first time I've stopped off to have a look at this area and do a little bit of cycling. So it is very nice, and it's good fun for cycling. So I enjoyed it. It was just a very good mini trip. So I hope you enjoyed the film. I think it's visually it's very good. Take care.